All right, good afternoon and morning, everyone. Today, I'm going to take you through a little bit of what's required to get ready for doing mobile WMS, right? So, Warehouse Insight and WMS Express are the solutions we offer. WMS Express being free for, barcode scanning typically, but really mobile, uh, access to information within a warehouse and being able to collect that information with a mobile device. So, quite often when we start projects, there's people aren't really sure what they need from a barcoding perspective to get started. So that's what we're going to get into is what do you need to get set up, or how can you get that information in using these handheld devices? All right, so there's a few different options for that. Let's get started here. All right, so the various options. First, the ideal situation is using the vendor or manufacturer barcodes. So you're receiving product, you've got product on the shelf. Most product that comes in today has barcodes on it. If it doesn't, ask the vendor or manufacturer to add those barcodes for you before you receive them. Now, sometimes that's not possible and it doesn't exist. Well, then you can print your own barcodes, right? So you can either pre-print them before the product comes in the door, fix the labels onto the product, scan it in, and do it that way. Or as you're doing the receiving, you could be printing those labels. So either, just pre-printing them from the scanners or entering quantities and then printing the labels based on what you've entered. Okay, so it's definitely a number of options for printing those labels. RFID is also, an option in some specialized cases. So we're not going to talk too much about RFID today, but we do support it. If you have questions, let us know, and we can walk you through some of those options. But that is potentially an option as well. And the last one is actually a very accessible, viable option, and that's the OCR capabilities that are available with Warehouse Insight and WMS Express today. And that means you don't need barcodes potentially to do your scanning. All right. So teased piqued your interest there maybe a little bit with that. Let's jump in and look at sort of the more pedestrian things, which is just using or printing barcodes. All right. So again, gold standard, or maybe not the gold standard, but the ideal situation is using those existing barcodes. Now, we don't care what kind of barcode your vendor or manufacturer gives you, GS1 or UPC barcode or some custom thing, whatever you like. They give you that. And then we can cross-reference whatever's in that barcode with what's in Business Central, either with the item reference table or the GTIN field on the item card, or maybe your item number is the same as what's in the barcode, right? Vendor or manufacturer just sticks their item number in the barcode. You can scan that and we can look it up that way. Or maybe there's some sort of custom field in Business Central you're using to, track the barcode value. That's not ideal, but it happens. We can support all of those. And we do that through the barcode rules capability within Business Central, our barcode rules, InsightWorks barcode rules, where we can pull out any information we want from a barcode. So item number, serial number, GTIN, quantity, unit of measure, all of those sorts of things we can pull out of any barcode format that's out there. Okay, so again, that's the ideal situation. You don't have to do any work. You just scan what comes in the door and everything just magically works. All right. Now, if you don't have that, and by the way, even stuff that isn't typically barcodable, you can still get your vendor to do that. They can direct part mark or affix tags on things, those sorts of things. So there's lots of options there. Now, if you have to print your own barcodes, I mentioned earlier, you can print them before you receive the product, where something comes in the door, they've got a clipboard full of barcodes, they can peel them off, stick them on the boxes, scan them in, away you go. Or you can, as you're scanning the product or bringing the product in and entering quantities, you can put barcodes right at that point, put them on the boxes, and away you go. Now, to do that, there are some existing item label reports within Business Central. There's a standard one that comes with Business Central, and there's some that come with our barcode generator tool that I'll mention in a second. But quite often you'll want to tailor the look of that label or the data on that label to meet your requirements. And so you'll possibly need a custom report layout that you can build in Word or in the Microsoft Report Builder. to do that. And then occasionally you might need a completely custom report because you may have special business logic on there. Like if I receive a box of product, maybe I want to print 10 labels instead of one label for the box. I want to print a label for each item inside the box. So there may be some situations where you need that custom report to be able to print the labels the way you want to print them. Okay, so either a layout or a report may be required. And there's no external or third-party software you need for this. You can do this all inside Business Central. Okay. Now, a couple of the extensions you can get for Business Central, a couple of the apps that are available from us will help with that. So Barcode Generator does make it easy to add barcodes to reports, including the GS1 128 barcode, which isn't available in standard Business Central, and a bunch of other tools. The print node connector helps you do cloud printing. So if I do want to print, labels from a handheld device, I would use the print node connector because as soon as I hit print, those labels just show up at whatever printer I've specified for that particular device. So on receiving, it'll print to the receiving printer as an example. And the barcode generator I'll actually show you in the presentation. The sample barcode list is a very valuable tool. If that's all you ever used out of barcode generator, it's still worth grabbing just for that. Okay, so that's a barcode. So that's getting a vendor barcode, which is ideal, or if I can't, printing my own barcodes. Now, if you don't want to print barcodes, that's OCR, so optical character recognition, where I can scan text pretty much as quickly as I can scan a barcode, right? As long as the text is reasonably legible, it's got good spacing, things like that, I can read that text with pretty much 100% accuracy. Okay, so if I'm receiving a box of product and it's got the item number right on the side or the vendor's product number right on the side, I could scan that text. It'll scan it as fast as a barcode, and I don't need to barcode that box anymore. Or what we do see a lot of is, hey, I've got a barcode for the UPC code or the item number, but the lot number is just printed on the packaging, right? Human readable printing. Well, I can scan the UPC code or whatever it is, and then scan that human readable text, and it'll just read that in as if I'd scan a barcode, and now I can record those lot numbers and serial numbers, and then I would want to print a label for that lot number because it's much better to have that than it's much more accurate if I have the barcode than trying to scan text every time. But I can bring that in without having to handwrite anything or manually type anything into a device, right? And the last one here, that is actually one of the best use cases because, hey, you've been running this warehouse for a few years. You got like 500 bins out there and they all have labels on them. They've already got, the bin code labeled on those racks. Does that mean you have to print out 500 labels and get some guys wandering around in the warehouse for a couple of days relabeling everything, hopefully properly? No, don't do that. Just scan the text that's already on your racking and you've got no extra work to do to start doing that. All right. Now, I'm going to show off a few scanners here in a minute that show some of that OCR capability and works with Warehouse Insight and WMS Express. So again, WMS Express being the free tool, the free warehouse management solution that you can use, and it will work with that OCR no problem. And the big benefit of the OCR, it's maybe not a full replacement for barcodes, but it can definitely help, right? If you've got certain vendors that don't ship, or if you've got those lot numbers you need to scan, if you've got the bin codes that don't have barcodes on them, OCR is definitely a valuable tool in the toolbox. All right. With that, let's actually have a look at what this stuff looks like. I'm going to start in Business Central here. And what we're going to talk about first really is the barcode generator power tool. So if you install it and you do a search for barcoded here, and under the reports and analysis, anything that starts with barcoded and a few others like fixed asset barcode and stuff like that are part of the barcode generator. So there's a whole bunch of these things that add a barcode to sort of standard, purchase orders and things like that. All of those are just the standard Business Central reports with an extra barcode on them. You can get all the layouts and the code and everything from our knowledge base for all of these. So if you want to tailor them and change them or do whatever you want, you can. But a couple of them in here I'll talk about real quick. The bin barcode and the item barcode. There is a Business Central item label that has a barcode on it as well. This is the generic one. This is the one from Barcode Generator. So I'll start with the bin barcode label, and it's pretty straightforward. I'll come in here, I'll just filter down to a specific, bin code, and you can just define, sort of how big you want the barcode and everything else. And this is always doing data matrix codes, right? So that's this data matrix uh, barcode format. You can use code 39, code 128, whatever you like. But these data matrix codes, pretty much all the scanners will work with them now. We don't actually sell scanners that don't do the 2D scanning. And these are a much better barcode to use than sort of the standard linear barcodes. No, you can still use the linear ones, but these guys are better. Okay, and this is what I meant by report layout change. You may want to put the name of the bin there. I don't know. You might want to put by default it'll put the max cubage or max weight on the label if they've been set up in Business Central. But you might want to have other stuff on here. Maybe you want to change this to instead of a 2x3 label, maybe you want it to be a 2x1 label. I don't know. But you may have to change that layout to make it look and work the way you want in your facility. Okay, so that's the bin. Pretty simple. The item label, it's got a few more options, like it can print, I can include quantities and units of measure and serial numbers and lot numbers, all that kind of stuff if I want. But the basic, label is pretty straightforward. Again, you choose the size of the data matrix barcode that we're going to print. And, actually, up here, while it's doing the print preview thing, actually, I'll have to come back in and show you. But anyway, it's going to print a bunch of labels here. And again, you can lay it out and have different text on there or whatever you want to do. Okay, so again, a couple of sample labels that you can use as a starting point to tailor it to match what you want to do. Back to this thing here, you'll notice here it says the printer is this warehouse to receive it. And what that means is if I just hit print, those labels are going to go to that printer without me doing anything else. And this is through our print node connector power tool. And this is what we would use on the handheld devices. So if I hit print on a handheld device, it's going to go to whatever printer I've specified for that specific device. This is the sort of global default printer that we use. But if I'm on a device that's being used in shipping, I would print that label at the shipping printer, not the receiving printer, as an example. And there's an add-on within Warehouse Insight. You just click a button and it enables it, where it actually allows me to choose a printer from the handheld device to print to. Okay, anyway, that's a little bit on the cloud printing using the print node connector and the barcode generator. One of the key things for barcode generator is, even if you don't care about all those sample labels and everything else, the sample barcode list is really what you want. And this guy here, for testing and just for operational stuff, I can come in, define a category that's just whatever I want to define there, put in what I want in the barcode and any description for that, and then define, let's go into edit list here, and then define what kind of barcode I want to generate. So data matrix, a QR code, blah, 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 and that GS1128 capability as well that we can print out here. So I define all of my, the barcodes I want and whatever category I want, those sorts of things. And then I can come in and just print that out. I'll just do them all here. And you get a barcode sheet that you can now use for testing or actual operational type stuff as well. And this will look very familiar to you in a minute, because these are the exact sheets that I use when I'm doing the demos. All right. And if you don't want to print it out, what you saw when I first came in is you could show it in tile view here, and I could just scan these barcodes right off the screen. So again, for testing and things like that, it's a great little tool. All right, enough of that. Well, those are the barcodes. So I've gone in, I've either pre-printed my barcodes or whatever, but I know kind of what I'm looking at. How do we get that data into Business Central? The barcode rules I mentioned, I kind of hesitated to show this because people are looking at it going, what is that? Did your cat run across your keyboard or something? Might have, but these are regular expressions. They've been around for about 60 years now. They're awesome technology to last that long. Lots of people use them everywhere. You don't need to know these. Our support people, our consultants know them. They can help set them up. But there's a bunch of standard ones that come with a system that'll deal with most of the situations that you run into. But really what these do is they define, what's in the barcode, what we're extracting from the barcode here. So this is a GS1 that has lot number, expiration, and package number inside it. And then with that, we can pull out all of that information, like the item number, the GTIN or the variant, serial number, lot number, package number, unit of measure, all that kind of stuff we can pull out of that barcode just by defining, this weird looking text here. Okay. But again, you don't need to know that. But if you did want to learn it, type regular expressions into Google or Bing if that's your thing. And hey, I rhymed, Bing thing. Anyway, type it in and you'll get a million instructional sites for regular expressions if you really wanted to learn it. All right. Now, enough of that. Let's actually go in and have a look at how we make all of this stuff work together, because we might have printed barcodes, we might have vendor barcodes. We've got our barcode rules set up, and we're now going to start scanning stuff. So to scan stuff, what we're going to do is we're going to go in and look at our devices. So here's our devices. So I've got 3 on here. I haven't turned this guy on, but just to illustrate, you can get the PDA style devices here where we've got no physical keyboard, but I've got a couple of here that do have physical keyboards. And these are kind of the opposite ends of the spectrum. This is a very, powerful, like this particular Honeywell model, long-range scanner. I can scan to 65 feet with this, drop it from 10 feet on concrete, like it's got a 10-foot drop spec, physical keyboards. It's nice. It's got 8 gig of RAM, all sorts of goodies on there. This guy here is 4 gig of RAM. It's a little less powerful, less rugged for sure, but nice little handheld thing. It's got, a little mini physical keyboard there, everything else. I can buy 3 or 4 of these for the price of one of these. So maybe some of your people that don't need to do a ton of scanning or don't need that high performance, this is a great little unit, right? I really like it. So you'll see kind of the differences between these two from a performance perspective and those sorts of things as we go through the session here. All right. So first thing we're going to start with this guy, the CK67. So here's the screen on the left-hand side for the CK67. Oh, is that your right-hand side? Anyway, on this side of the screen, there's the CK67. And what we're going to do is I'm going to jump into receiving just to show you some of the options, because that's usually the first sort of point of interaction with a barcode or whatever, is while you're doing receiving, right? So products come in the door. How do I indicate that specific product has come in the door? Ideally, you scan that barcode because you've got that physical verification of what's coming in the door. You've got complete inventory accuracy. So again, receiving is typically where we're going to see it hit first. So in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in, I'm going to grab a PO from the list here, and there's a bunch of stuff. You can look up the existing online videos to see how receiving works and all that. And I'm going to open up my my purchase order. And what you're seeing there, the view you're seeing is what we call the grid view. And there's several different user interfaces. I won't get into that in detail, but just to let you know, this is kind of the compact view you can see within Warehouse Insight. There's also a card view and a tile view you can use to see your data. But this is the kind of the most efficient. You get the most amount of information on the screen at a time. All right, now, that said, I've got a bunch of items I need to receive. How do I receive them? I've got a whole bunch of boxes sitting in front of me. Well, if some of them have barcodes, I just start scanning the barcode. I'll show you that in a sec. If they don't, I can come in here and I can use a menu to hit print. And again, what that does, it just tells Business Central, hey, print the report that I've specified for a purchase order receipt, or in this case, a warehouse receipt. And it'll go out and it'll run that report and print the labels, and it'll spit out on whatever printer I've specified for this device. And that report might just be the standard label report I showed you earlier, and it's just going to print labels, probably 14 labels for this particular item here. But I might want to have that report print everything that's on this purchase order, or maybe only print labels for the items that are flagged as needing labels, because I got a special field on the item card or something like that. Or maybe based on the unit of measure, I want different quantities of labels. So that'd be a custom report that you'd have to incorporate your custom requirements there. Okay, but regardless, I can hit print. I'll pop my labels, I stick them on the box, I scan them in, and away I go. Just as an aside, I said I wouldn't talk about RFID, but again, if you're using RFID, we can scan RFID in here as well. Now, the other option is, okay, I don't have labels or, barcodes on these items, but what I want to do is I want to record maybe lot numbers and things like that, and then print labels for those lot numbers. So I can do that as well. I could come in here, open this up and say I received 5 of these. As soon as I hit enter here, I could have the system print out 5 of those labels for that particular item if I want. Okay, so a bunch of different options. other than the lot number scenario where I want to record all the lot numbers and then print labels with those lot numbers on them, I prefer pre-printing the labels because then I can put them on the boxes and then I can scan those labels in because then I've got that physical accuracy. I know the right label is on the right box. And how do we guarantee that or assist with that? Well, here's that barcode sheets, the sample barcode list. They're used it quite a bit, kind of dog-eared up at the top here. But at any rate, if these are labels that I've printed and put them on the box, or if they're, manufacturer labels or whatever, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the scanner, I'm going to scan the barcode. It's going to optionally show me a picture of that item. So if it shows me a blue chair there, and I've got, I don't know, sweatshirt or something in my hand, I know I've got a problem with the barcode. And I can fix that before that error propagates out through the warehouse. So that's why printing the labels, putting them on the packaging, and then scanning them is sometimes better. All right, and I will get into how you enter quantities and all that stuff. But there, I've done that. I've scanned that barcode. I've entered that quantity. So whether that was my barcode, vendor barcode, that's how it works. Okay, pretty simple. Now, what if I don't have the barcodes, like we said, and I don't want to print them? And luckily, the text that's coming in from the vendor is pretty legible. I could actually scan that. That's where we're getting to the OCR side of things. So now if I grab this, what we've got here is I don't have barcodes. I just have the item numbers listed on the sheet. And I've got guys here that I'll show you with lot numbers. And, this is just the sample barcode list. I've just folded it over because I'm high tech like that, right? We just fold that over for the demo. And now I can start scanning this text. Well, how does that work? Do I have to open up the camera app and start scanning? No, you do not. So I'm going to scan this 1900-S text. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to point to scanner as if it was a barcode. It'll find it, it'll read that text, and it'll allow me to see the image and everything else. Okay? Simple as that. So that scan was pretty much as fast as scanning a barcode. I'll do it again. There was a little bit of lag there. I'm not sure why, but anyway, we scan it. There's the picture. Like that was as fast as scanning a barcode, right? And it scanned that text in. Same thing with the lot numbers. If I've got those printed lot numbers, so you can see here, we've got the item number and lot number listed there in the text. I just go in, I scan that, it finds it. Look at that, brought in the lot number for me automatically without me having to have a barcode for that lot number. So here again, if I brought that in, I'd enter that quantity of 25, and at this point, it could print a barcode for that lot number because, even though this OCR stuff is very accurate, you don't want to take chances, right? At receiving, this is great because I can verify all this information. I can make sure, the text that it read in actually matches this, the lot number that I saw, all those sorts of things, and then print the label for it. And then in the warehouse and everywhere else I go, I don't need to do that check. I just beep the barcode and I've got that data and it's good. Okay. Now, and I should mention that if, it'll only bring in, like if I've got standard lot number format. So in this case, I've got, the word lot and then a bunch of zeros. I could make sure that it reads that O as an O and the zeros as a zero. How do we do that? Well, with something very similar to barcode rules. It's also regular expressions, but we put those on the device. So those barcode rules that we defined within Business Central, that's very similar to how you would set up the device to ensure that we're reading LOT and not L0T, and we're reading 000 instead of OOO. Okay, so we can ensure we're bringing in the proper data. As an example, here I've got a box here. If I try and scan the text of this box, right, you can't see it there, but I'm trying. It's not scanning. You know why? Because it says Honeywell doesn't match a lot number or an item number or bin code. I'm not scanning that data. It doesn't match what I'm trying to do. Okay, so that's how we do it on the Honeywells. Now, what about this little dude here? Well, let's switch over to him. Get my mouse working here. Let's just hide this guy. So we're going to switch over to this guy. Same thing. I'm going to go into receiving here. This guy's doing wireless sharing, so it might be slightly slower. I'm just going to open him up. I could have tapped the enter button on this, but I just tapped the screen. And you can see it's a slightly slower than this guy, but pretty darn good for, again, I can get 3 or 4 of these for the price of one of those guys. Anyway, now here it's the same. I can scan barcodes, no problem, and everything else. That all works fine. But I'm going to actually go in and use the OCR, right? I'm going to scan the text to show you how it works on this one. So what happens here is when I go into scan, we'll do the 1906-S guy here. So, this guy down halfway down the screen. When I hit the scan button, it's going to bring up a little preview of it, and it's going to allow me to see exactly which text it thinks it can scan. And the way it works on the data logic is I actually have to let go of the scan button. You can't really see it, but I have to let go of the scan button to scan. Whereas on the Honeywell, I just point once it's read, it just accepts it. This one lets me sort of aim, decide what kind of text I want to read, and when I let go, it actually does that scan. But it's just as fast as the Honeywell. I just get a chance to aim. And you'll notice there's two boxes there. The top box doesn't recognize that text. I've set it up so that top box will actually scan a bin code, and the bottom box actually scans the item. Okay. And what I mentioned earlier about it not recognizing text that it's not supposed to, you can see it doesn't recognize any of that text over here at all. It doesn't want to scan any of that stuff. But as soon as I bring it over here, it's like, oh, I can scan that. That's an item code. Let's bring that in, and allows me to scan that text. Okay. Pretty simple. So that's the difference between the two. And you can see this guy is a great little guy. Is nice and performant. Let's just real quick go into the bid inquiry mode here, one of the apps on the system, and we'll scan one of those. Scan a bin code, right? So pretty typical looking bin label. I got this stuck on the rack. I've got no barcode on it. How do I get into barcode scanning? Well, we don't, because here we just aim this guy, right? We're typically scanning from a further distance, and it recognizes that text, right? On the bottom, it doesn't. It's not an item number. The top, it does. As soon as I do that, it scans that bin in, brings it up, and shows me all the details for that particular bin. So that's basically how this OCR stuff works. You can see, how that could really be beneficial, especially with the bin labels and those sorts of things. Now, if I go back to, I'm just going to hide all my fancy sheets here. If I go back to the CK67 here real quick, and we go into the bin inquiry, it's a little different. All I do is I just point it, and as soon as it recognizes the text, it will beep and bring it up, and away we go. Of course, it's not for some reason now. But that's okay. Maybe I turned off the recognition for the bin barcodes, but that's basically how it works, right? We point the gun at the text, the scanner at the text. Make sure in the case of the data logic that it's found it. It let go of the scan button, and it reads in that bin code, and away we go. On the Honeywell and other devices, we just point, push the scan button. As soon as it recognizes the text, it scans it in, and we're all happy. All right. So those are some of the things that you can do. Oops, I'm going to close my application there. Those are some of the ways that you can get prepared for doing your scanning, right? Printing the barcodes, using the vendor barcodes, using OCR to get that data into the system using the mobile device. And, I didn't really mention it in a great deal of detail, but you saw there kind of on the receiving side, I don't actually have to have a barcode to enter the data. I don't even have to scan the text to enter the data. I could come into any of these manually, grab one of them, hit the enter button or use the double tap or choose, and I can enter the quantity I want to receive without scanning anything at all if I don't want. Okay. All right. And I should mention, because I did mention the camera stuff earlier, you can start the camera on these devices, this take picture option there. That's more for taking photos of the product if it's damaged or wherever. That'll upload and store in Business Central with a purchase order or whatever document you're on. But for scanning text, I don't have to do that. I just point and click, basically. All right. So with that, if you do have any additional questions on any of this, give us a shout. Go to the website there. You can go to WMS for Dynamics. It'll give you some details on the applications. If you go to the main website and go to the hardware section, it'll give you an overview of all the hardware that we offer that can provide these functions. And if you have questions about the hardware and especially the OCR scanning, give us a shout. We're happy to help you out with all of it.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more great content, and remember to hit that bell icon to stay updated. See you in the next video.